a lot of people think that leadership is only in the work environment. Leadership starts with you. The discipline that you put into your life and how you lead yourself is how you're going to lead others. And if you can't lead yourself, don't expect to lead others, because they're not going to respect you. They're not going to listen to you. You're not going to get anything accomplished.
Hi, Madeline.
Hey.
You look wonderful in that pink. And guys, this is something for all guys. Know when your wife or your girlfriend or significant other gets their hair done and your hair is on point.
Well, thank you, darling. I did it just for you.
Okay. So I'm going to be fully transparent with you right now that we are not going to do what we originally said we were going to talk about.
Oh.
I have talked to our producer, Danny, and I told him I was going to go with something that is just a rip-it type of conversation. We have not prepped for this, and I really just want to see where it goes. But a little bit of this is me bragging on my wife, my business partner, and my podcast host.
Co-host.
Oh, yeah, co-host. Well, it's real. It's not practice. So a couple days ago, and I normally don't have notes, so I have to take up my phone so I can do this. A couple days ago, you were featured in the Mogules of Business magazine. It was a wonderful article talking a little bit about the story of BNN and where we've gone since and all the wonderful things. And it was a great, great story. But you know what was most amazing to me was almost immediately after it went out, a woman that we've known and has been doing work with us within BNN since 2011, so almost 14 years, sent you a text and then posted the same thing on a LinkedIn post. But basically, and I'm going to read a little bit of it because I was so proud of you. And I remembered this, and I said to myself, I want to have this conversation. Madeline, you deserve this wonderful write-up. I was 24 years old, and I had just got laid off from my first job out of college, and I was starting my signing agent business. And she proceeds to go on and talk about how you took a chance on her. You had patience, but yet you were firm. And as she put it, sometimes I just thought you were mean and strict. But what she realized is what you were really doing later on. And what she wrote towards the end is you taught her how to present herself, how to be professional, how to take this business that she was starting and take it seriously and grow it. And it's amazing because I know this young woman as well. And when she's been with us, and she is still with us in a smaller capacity, because with that leadership and mentorship that you provided her, she went to law school, she started a nonprofit, and she's launched some other businesses. And the finish of the comment that she put was the one that made me think about the conversation I wanted to have with you, is that you will always be her mentor. And I was so proud of that. And I was thinking about, a lot of times we don't talk about the leadership style and the growth of it. And so when you read that comment, I'd like for you to just tell me what it made you feel like. And then I have a couple follow-up questions.
So first of all, thank you for acknowledging that. It was really interesting because I've always led with my heart and always wanting to real help that person that I see the potential in. And I remember her, and just for the audience, BNN, it stands for Bilingual Notary Service, Bilingual Notary Network. And Bilingual Notary Network is the first business that we opened after my 18-year career came to an end in 2008. And it is a logistics, for lack of a better word, and for people to understand what it is, it's the logistics of the closing transactions in the real estate space. So we basically close transactions wherever you're at, whether that's in your office, whether it's at home. If you are traveling somewhere abroad, we can make that happen as well for you. So that is what we do, and we have been doing this since 2008. Going back to your question about that young woman, when I got that message, it made me laugh. And because I remember what she was talking about, the times in which I was hard on her, but I was teaching her at the same time, because I believe that how you do one thing is how you do everything. And so I think she took that to heart and understood as she progressed with us in all these years what I was trying to accomplish. But you know what? She also mentioned that I defended her as well.
No,
right?
That's right.
She did, because, there are times that there's miscommunication in, in the transaction. And I like to hear both sides and bring the interpretation to a halt and say, okay, that was it was out of our control. There's nothing that she could have done. You have to back, no different than your employees, right? You have to stand for what's right. And so it made me feel good. It made me think about how many lives I have changed over the years, and how many mentors I had during my corporate years. And while they were not the greatest, they didn't have the greatest style, I understood what was at stake. And I think that I refine that when I became an entrepreneur myself, because then now I was in control of what style I wanted to really adopt and how I wanted to make people feel.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think one of the things, though, that I think would be really valuable for our audience to understand is, and you kind of referenced it with your style transitioned, and it wasn't overnight.
No.
I mean, we learn good and bad, and if we've learned it, we will probably under stress execute the bad and not always remember the good.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that what evolved was you always were one that had a great deal of discipline. You were one that was always, I want to do the right thing. That we learned in corporate. But I think the transition of adding the emotional intelligence into your leadership style. Can you talk a little bit of how you took a very corporate, and we've talked about this in previous episodes, a very militaristic style,
mm-hmm.
and then moved it towards a more humanistic style?
What made me pivot in my leadership style was how I made people feel with my militaristic style.
Uh-huh.
And I started to notice that there's a lot of people out there that they don't do things with bad intentions. They just don't have the guidance. And I had to take a step back and say to myself, okay, Madeline, how would you feel if somebody would talk to you that way? Mm-hmm. Is empathy the way of going? But always helping understand what's important and what's at stake. Can we communicate that in a much better way? And how does that resonate with people on the other end? So listen, my style was, if there was a nail, I would have the hammer and I was hammering along. And people didn't like that. I wasn't creating relationships that were lasting. People were scared of me. And I didn't want them to be scared. I think I was going about it the wrong way, honestly. Because people being intimidated by my masculine energy was not the way. but that's all I knew, right? And so when I started to switch and study what EQ did for people, then I realized that you can get a lot more out of people. And it worked. When I present the problem and what was at risk, and then nurture that, helping them understand that you're not going to get away with it, but yet this is a way that you could do it, or we could do it, and coach them through that process, it always turned out to be great.
Yeah, I think, and having lived in the same corporate world that you did, and then navigating out, and not that this is about me, but I was told also, and I think, when you were in your transition of now being an entrepreneur, there were people that knew you back when, but knew me in still the corporate structure, since you left the corporate structure 9 to 10 years before I did, that they were so happy that you got involved with me because I wasn't the quote unquote ass that I used to be.
Well, you didn't
right?
have the EQ for sure.
I didn't. But I think that one of the things that you taught me was how to rephrase questions. And I know we've discussed this and I know you've done a kind of a reel on this, but I think that was the big change that people probably saw first, is that instead of telling them exactly how to do something, you would ask them and take the wording, and it would be more on the lines of, here's our objective, tell me how you think we can achieve it together.
Well, how did you get to where the decision making that you did? I mean, you have to be curious about the thought process, right? Before you can actually help others see it different. It's interesting you say that, because today I had an appointment and I was talking to the girl, and we talked a little bit about how to rephrase certain things. And one of the things was like, when you start with, I disagree with you, you already have created this wall.
Yeah.
The person receiving is going to be like, okay, I'm out, right? Instead of, that's an interesting perspective. Let me tell you, would you care to hear my perspective? They're more open in listening, right? So rephrasing and helping people understand, take the emotion out of the whole thing, and look at people as, okay, they're human beings, let's talk like such. It's so much better conversation.
Right. And as a leader, though, how do you maintain that other element of drive in making sure, remember, at the end of the day, all businesses are based on, at the end, the numbers. We're either achieving them, we're not. If you're not, there's a problem. How do you maintain so that an employee or someone that's doing work for you isn't necessarily taking advantage of what perceived to be a slightly softer approach?
Being softer and not setting expectations are two different things. I like to set expectations, right? And help people understand that when they don't meet them, they don't meet them, and it's a conversation.
Right.
And so, it really depends on the circumstances. But at the end of the day, it boils down to communication. It boils down to, did you set the expectation? Are you, as a leader, embodying the same things, the same principles, right? Because people are not going to do what you tell them. People are going to do what you do. And we've learned that with our daughters. Our daughters will tell you that if I tell them, I said, well, you need to do this. I said, well, why would I do that? You don't do it. That was the first time that I realized that they are not doing exactly what I'm telling them, that they are doing exactly what they see. And that is why I am very big in embodiment, meaning that you ask people to do what you are willing to do. If you're not willing to do it, don't ask.
Gotcha. That's a great point. I also think, just as another example, recently, as I think some of our audience knows, is we're in the process of working on a technology project. And as anybody that knows technology knows, development isn't perfect.
Yeah.
Yet, it was amazing because you set the stage for the technologist and you said, I understand things can happen, but if there's going to be a delay, I don't want to know about it after the delay. I want to know it's happening before.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought about that because, we've known our technologist for, 6-7 years.
Yep.
And he was very like, yes, ma'am. And as life would have it, there was a delay.
There was a delay.
And he's like, hey, it was a couple days before. And he's like, hey, this is going on. This is what we're doing. This is when we think. And of course, the delay had a delay.
Yeah.
And he was so on top of it. But because the way you presented it and the way he received it,
mm-hmm.
right, was the interesting thing because nobody was upset.
No.
We all knew what we were working with. We all understand technology,
mm-hmm.
and we all understand that development sometimes have issues. The good thing, guys, is that today we got the magical text that said,
we're ready to go.
We're ready to go to testing. And this is the third phase of testing. So that's exciting. But it goes to the point of what you were saying.
Yeah.
Setting the stage does not mean you have to be this strict disciplinarian, right? It just means you have to make sure you set the stage. But how it's spoken and is going to be how it's received. And there's not going to be the pushback of, I don't want to, I'm just going to get yelled at after this happens because it's going to be a lot easier.
Yeah, in my good old days, that
right?
would have happened.
That would have been what would have happened. So, go ahead.
Well, it's we recently had that discussion with him, and I told him, and this is what I said that created the sense of urgency to please me and make sure that I got what I wanted, which it was.
And by the way, we all sense this is going to happen.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it that it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And it's going to happen on my timeline. But how I'm going to ask for it is setting the stage that I value communication. In order for this to work, I need to understand what is it that isn't going to happen, because I do have other moving pieces in the back end that I need to be doing, right? So it's a collaboration. Therefore, you need to be able to have a communication piece that says, hey, I value this. This is what I need from you. Can you deliver? And holding people accountable to that is very critical to the success of any project. And the same thing goes with if somebody tells you, I'm going to, a proposal recently that we got from in a project that we're doing, right, for one of our websites, BNN, exactly. And when we left, first of all, I like to complete questionnaires that are going to make somebody else's life easier. Because when I make somebody else's life easier, that means that they make my life a lot easier. Mm-hmm. They're coming in with the information that I need. And so from there, we can, move forward the project. But one of the things that I did, she said, I'll have the proposal ready for you soon. That's wonderful. When should I expect that proposal? You're not telling them when you're going to get it. You are just holding them accountable that when they tell you they're going to give it to you, they're going to give it to you.
Yeah.
And so I think that creates a really good environment for good working relationship, because now she understands what I value. And my time is money, and therefore I expect that when you do say you're going to send it to me, you're going to send it to me. And she did. She absolutely did. We looked at the proposal. Now it is our job to go back and say, thank you for sending it. We will review it, just like we got another proposal from a landscaping guy. I communicated exactly what I needed. I need a clean proposal that I can read and understand. He sent me exactly that. A proposal that is clean and you're able to read it. Did you read the email?
I saw it. Yes.
Yeah. And so I committed to him that after the weekend, I will get back with him. So by Monday, I'm doing it, because I expect people to do things, I have to do the same thing. I hold myself to that standard.
Yeah. And you know what I think I'm hearing
And you know this because when I ask you for something,
whoa.
well, it's true. When I ask you for something and you don't give it to me, I get spicy right away because you leave it very open, and I don't like open. I like conclusive.
Well, I didn't know this was about me, but thank you.
Well, it is always about you, honey.
Yeah, well, no, it's really very rarely ever about me. But what I'm hearing, though, is something that somebody else said to you the other day is that you met at an event, and then you were, as you always do, you come back with your list of people you want to speak to, and you had a scheduled call just to see if there's a possible synergy. Our favorite word lately, synergy. And you engage them to see if there's an opportunity for whether it's you or us to help them, if there's something that we can work on together or wherever it takes it. But it was interesting. She did her little bit of research, and she said, Madeline, this is really interesting about your background. I didn't even know you were in that industry because all I ever read about you is a lot about leadership. And you just paused, and I remember hearing you say this, and I was in the room, but I wasn't on the call. And you said, that's because leadership is in everything. And those couple of examples that you went outside of the workforce and outside of just regular how we run our businesses were about things of just leading people to an end result that's going to be positive for both parties. And I don't think you can ask for more than that in any conversation you have. Is there ultimately a mutual benefit for us to engage? And are we respecting each other enough to be able to be honest with what our expectations are, and then hold each other truly accountable? And then the most important thing I heard from you is you have to communicate. And if you don't, and I know I am guilty of what you just said. I sometimes, if I'm not there, when are you going to have it? I will get it to you soon. And then you're like, well, I need it by, okay, well, that's not going to happen. And how about this day? And now we just figured a day that works for both of us. And it takes the argument away. It takes the legal stuff if you're in a business arrangement away a little bit, right? Unless they're just constantly doing that. But to me, that's kind of what I just heard you walk through. And I think those are some great takeaways for our audience, right? Is setting expectations the right way. Leading in everything that we do, no matter what it is. You mentioned the girls, right? I mean, it's not telling them, it's helping them, right? Hey, I need this. I need you to do this. Or, when they were younger, now they're grown and we don't actually get to tell them that anymore. But
but they act on exactly what we taught them, the foundation that we put in place. A lot of people think that leadership is only in the work environment. Leadership starts with you. The discipline that you put into your life and how you lead yourself is how you're going to lead others. And if you can't lead yourself, don't expect to lead others, because they're not going to respect you. They're not going to listen to you. You're not going to get anything accomplished.
And I'm going to take my cue that was a mic drop moment. And I'm just going to finish this up that, hey guys, we hope that you enjoyed this topic, a little bit about how Madeline has grown as a leader, a little bragging on my half about Mogules in Business Magazine, and we'll drop a link into the show notes for you to check that out. But most importantly, if this helped you, we'd love to see a comment back from you and telling us how it helped you. And if you have any questions, feel free to do that as well. And as always, thank you for tuning in, and we look forward to speaking to you next time. See you soon.
Let's get to work.